when you're in the program screen, and that's what we're in right now, we're programming a box or a field, you're going to see a couple different buttons here. Your big green highlighted area is telling you what field you're in. So on a stone you might have 1 or 3 or 9 different fields on that stone. This tells you what field you're in. That's good for you to know while you're programming, so you know the sequence of boxes that you're in. The next one is our repeats count. That's how many passes it's going to make. So at this point, if you know that you need to make 4 or 6 or 7, that's where you would put that in. Remember, you can always change that on the fly while the machine is running, but it's a good idea to put the right number of passes that you want while you're programming it. The next one down is going to be the speed, and you'll notice that that speed is in millimeters per second. So right now we're set up to go 50 millimeters per second. We can change that to whatever speed we like from 1 to 100. Keep in mind, the faster you go, the more passes you may have to make. All that depending on whatever abrasive and pressure that you're blasting at. But again, we can change that speed right here. We can change it from 50 to say 75 and hit enter. Now we're going to change that to 75. Keep in mind again, if we're in the program and it's already running and we're doing the job, if we want to change that on the fly, we can. These next two buttons, this is going to allow us to either program the machine to go from left to right, top to bottom, or top to bottom, left to right. Depending on the design, sometimes it's more efficient for the machine to run horizontally or vertically. And this gives us the ability to change the direction of the machine in the programming stage. Keep in mind, if once you program this, the machine feels that it would be better to run a different way, it's going to override whatever you did and run the way that it feels is most efficient. The contour button, you know what button that's for. That's for after we've programmed a box, we can run that contour to see that the blasting area, everything we want to blast is inside of the contour. If we run that contour and we find out that that red laser runs over the top of a letter or part of our design, then we know that we didn't quite, we kind of failed to get everything in the box. That's what's good. That button's good for, is telling us, hey, you need to go back and reprogram that box. So keep in mind the contour is really good option to run when you're first programming. After that, you'll see that there's a front and a back button. This would be if we want to go to the next field. We could just go right back, and now we're going to change to field number 2. If I go back to field number 1, you'll see these little boxes down here. This is telling me that there's 1, 2, 3 different boxes that are making up this one field. If you go back to what we programmed an irregular shaped box. If we were doing a cross or boxes that we decided we were going to overlap to make an irregular shaped box, this tells me that there are 3 different fields inside of this one field. And that's something that you're not going to use a lot of, but it at least will let you know how many boxes that you have already pre-programmed inside of that one blasting field. Again, I can hit accept on our control panel, or I can always go hit the red button, which takes us to the next field. The next field button is the same as pushing the forward arrow button on the touch screen. This just allows me, if I wanted to, I could program from, instead of being at the touch screen, I could program the stone from over at the actual stone itself. See, push the button, we go to next field. Now I can move on to programming the next portion of that stone. Unless the stone only had the one field, in the case of this one, then I would be done. I would go to my job and run it. But if I was doing a last name and then maybe a name and dates and an endearment all on one stone, I might have 3 separate boxes. This is going to allow me to know which box is in which. The key to that is if I finish the stone and I came back and I noticed that everything looked really good except the last name, and the last name was field number 2, I can always go back to the job and choose to run that one field. This field number 2, I could run that again for 1 or 2 or 3 passes. So again, the stone will be finished, but if there's a portion of that stone that needs to go a little bit deeper, as long as you know what field that is, you can always go back, select that one field, and do just that field over again for as many passes as you'd like.